And how would you think for business leaders who are generally trying to find a way to tell their story and often make the mistake of talking about facts and figures and numbers and some miss that whole human drama that happens inside companies, what might help them think about how they tap into something universal?
Well, first, as Steve Martin said in that movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, when he was complaining to John Candy, who just kept blabbermouthing, here's an idea: when you tell a story, have a point, you know. and I've always remembered that line. It's a very funny line in the movie, but it's also true. You know, not everything is a story. Not everything is an anecdote. Just because it happened to you doesn't mean it needs to be told. So first and foremost, I would ask, you know, the person to ask himself, is this really worth telling? Is there anything here besides the fact that it happened to me that makes it interesting at all? And if the answer is no, don't say it. Keep it to yourself. Talk to the mirror, you know. Now, if there is something in it that's good for somebody else, so you say, okay, I learned something here. And one of the great ways to sort of acid test this is think of when you were a kid and they had Aesop's fables, right? And you heard all those different assorted little fables. What did they choose? What was the subject matter that they chose behind every one of those fables? Well, there was something that pretty much every kid listening in the room could relate to. There was a lesson that no matter if they were fat or skinny or black or white or came from this religion or that, there was a lesson there that resonated for them. Give yourself sort of the Aesop fable test. Is this story got enough universality to it that the guy in sales is going to get something out of it, the guy in marketing is going to get something out of it, the guy in finance is going to get something out of it? Or is it just really specific to the accountants? Because if it's really specific to the accountants, I promise you the marketing people are going to fall asleep on you and the sales people are going to fall asleep on you and you're going to lose half your audience. Find the universal element. And the second step of doing that is break it down. Find the simple story behind it and try to use it in almost an entertaining fashion. Look, when there's a dog that crosses a bridge and he's got a big steak in his mouth and he looks down in the water and he sees his reflection and he sees that there's another dog with a steak in his mouth and he wants that dog's steak, so he opens his mouth to get that other dog's steak and he drops his steak and he loses it. There's a lesson there, okay, for everybody. I don't care if you're in sales and you're in marketing and you're in finance. There's a universal lesson. That's why it's a fable, you know, about greed and wanting beyond what you have. And you can use that simple story about a dog with a steak in his mouth for almost anything in life when it comes to, you know, when is enough enough? When do you have too much? When do you lose sight of your own focus by focusing on what somebody else has or worrying about what somebody else has? And yet, it's still just a little story about a dog with a steak in his mouth. But look at all the tentacles that you can come off of. So sometimes those simple stories are the best. And when you're going to tell one, try to sort of find the simple story under your complicated story and use that to try to reach out to people. Because most people don't want to hear a long, drawn-out, detailed thing of, you know, just because it happened to you was interesting. And that's how you tend to lose people. Yeah.